Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, people in the news or who write the news, so you can find out what they're thinking about when they write the stuff and maybe get a little more insight into some of the biggest stories of the day. And in our second segment, an interesting arts culture story that has not such a great ending, but an important thing to look at. Nonetheless, right now, let's have our first hello with AM New York reporter Barbara Russo. Nice to see you, Barbara.
Hi, Gary. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Just to introduce yourself to the people of the Bronx. Um, uh, where are you? How are you? What have you done? What got you into being a journalist?
Sure. Well, hello. I'm actually calling in from Staten Island, New York.
Uh-oh.
Way,
Uh-oh.
way the opposite. Way, it's like the Galapagos Islands of New
Yeah,
York.
from the Bronx. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Yes. So I'm calling in from Staten Island, my hometown borough. But actually cover all of the boroughs.
Right.
For
And why did you become a journalist?
Well, I got involved in journalism. I always wanted to be a journalist.
Uh-huh.
First of all, I'm one of those.
Big mistake. Oh, no,
I
I'm sorry.
You know, I find it rewarding. And it's just something that always kind of stuck with me. I remember being very little, going to all the cultural organizations on Staten Island and writing like
Mhm.
little stories about them with my
Really
family.
just on your own, just because you thought it was interesting to
I
do.
just thought it was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was a long time ago. And here I am. I actually started working out of college. I went to the City University of New York, College of Staten Island. I started working in public relations. Um,
Uh-huh.
Yes, I actually started my career there. I worked in a firm. I actually went on to work for the Bronx Zoo as assistant director
Ah.
of communications. So I go
Oh,
straight
there
to
you
the
go.
Bronx.
We know all the people at the Bronx Zoo.
Oh, awesome.
Um, and anyway, so you did that, and then at some point you said, "Hey, I think I wanna do something really serious."
Exactly. I said to
Yeah.
myself, there's so much going on in New York City. I would love
And
to write about it.
how long have you been with AM New York? Was that your first journalism job, or you did some other stuff?
Well, no, my first journalism job was with Staten Island Parent,
Oh,
and they were actually owned by a different company called Davler Media. Schnepp's Communications purchased Davler Media. Schnepp's
right.
owns AM New York.
AM New York, of course, in the Bronx Times as well here in the borough of the Bronx. Right. And so there one thing led to the other. All right, let's talk turkey, so to speak. You wrote an article, White Supremacist Propaganda Incidents Surge in New York. Anti-Defamation League did a report. Tell us about their report and what was eye-opening in it.
Right. It was very alarming. So the ADL, the Anti Defamation League,
Yeah.
they come out every year with a assessment of white supremacist propaganda across the country, not just in New York. And it was really alarming because in New York alone, there were 356 incidents of this propaganda.
This is New York City, not New York State.
Actually, I apologize. It's actually New York State, not
New
just
York State. Okay.
and that was the numbers they have for 2023.
Okay.
And honestly, it was like if I recall, I believe it was more than 150% increase.
Over like the previous year. And
Exactly.
what are they used as qualifications to say this is a white supremacist incident?
That's a very good question. So, what has to define something that's a white supremacist incident? And remember, this is referring to propaganda. So, materials, graffiti,
I see.
yeah, signs.
Mm,
It has to be anything with hate messaging. So, anything that's
mm.
hateful towards the Jewish community, LGBTQ, the Black community, anything that's
Any ethnic communities, and I'm sure the migrant question and situation has exacerbated this because people who feel that way look
yes.
look at these people askance, to put it mildly.
Yeah, according to the ADL's research, a lot of this propaganda does include hateful messaging towards, and remember, this is in forms of signage, flyers being given out towards the migrant community too.
Mm.
But it's also really important to know that the ADL is not, they do a lot of great research. They collect data. They're a great organization for collecting this information, but they are not a law enforcement group, of course. They're not.
Right. So, really, that was going to be the next question. So now that we know some of this, what do we do? Or did they? But I want to rewind one step further back. Did they do some analysis as to why we think? I mean, all you got to do is turn on your TV and watch the news, and you get a sense of what's out there. But did they talk about what has inspired this?
Well,
They may not have. I don't know.
they did. I spoke to the regional director of New York and New Jersey for ADL.
Okay.
He he can't say why exactly this is happening so much.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of the anti-Semitic portion of the propaganda
Yes.
that is attributed to October 7th. But also another important thing to note is the social aspect. For some reason that a lot of folks that I spoke to just can't explain, which is understandable, is that uh, white supremacist groups, hate groups in general, have felt very emboldened recently.
Mhm.
And
Listen, we know what the politics are. Let's not pretend.
right,
And certainly when you hear a presidential candidate saying some very direct things, negative things about people who live in other countries and all those kinds of things, I think also to some degree the pandemic helped do it because
right,
people were isolated, and then when they finally came out, they were resentful.
mm,
They were because they were trying to protect their own, so to speak, and they
sure.
felt challenged by anybody who was different from they are, and all of that kind of combined to put these very disturbing numbers together. That's the way I see
Yeah, it's actually not too much different from what our the experts we spoke to were saying.
it. I don't claim to be anything but a talk show host. I promise you.
No worries. That's but yeah, polarization. A lot of people are feeling polarized or they have to pick a side. Obviously, hate it's there's never an excuse for hateful messaging.
Right.
Um a lot of the anti-Semitic propaganda and incidents too, don't forget, in New York City. A lot of that has to do with people wanting to take sides in the case of the war. Uh
Yeah, the war in Israel
or
and in Gaza.
Palestine, yes, exact the war in Gaza, exactly. I'm sorry. Um, a lot of people are either pro-Palestine, pro-Israel, and a lot of people say they are pro-humanity, which is something that
Well, that's kind of a nice thing, but in this a very fraught um, uh, climate, it's very difficult, especially for people who have personal, affiliations. They're either Jewish or they're Muslim or Arabic, and they feel like, wait a minute, these are my people. I got to support. So that only takes
exactly
people farther away than brings them together. And
right.
then I'm just speculating here. Extend it further, then people support one group or the other, and all of a sudden you've got a real problem. I mean,
Yes, yes, and in between that, it's again the polarization aspect, where even people who really don't have a direct vested interest in either side feel they have to have an opinion, and it's creating a lot of
yeah.
well, it's emboldening a lot of anti-Jewish sentiments.
Yeah. Did the ADL does the ADL make recommendations? I mean, are they saying we need stronger legislation in some ways? I know that where was it? Was it Scotland, I think,
Mm,
just outlawed hate speech. And then, of course, people. I saw it in the paper yesterday, and so, but there are people on the other side says what qualifies as hate speech. The protected categories did not include women. So all of a sudden, you're going to hate everything, but if you say the wrong thing about women, that's forgiven. So, what does the ADL say? I mean, how are we going to change
sure.
this?
I mean, there's always the issue of free speech, right? Especially here,
Yeah,
specifically here in America. Um,
I'm a talk show host. It's not a
you know,
small issue.
exactly, absolutely. And what the ADL really wants to do, their ultimate goal, remember, their mission is to simply not simply, but to combat anti-Semitism, bigotry in all forms, hate in all forms.
Mhm.
Uh, with this data they collected from the white supremacist, the rise in white supremacist propaganda, they take each of their complaints that resulted in that data and they investigate it as much as they can before deciding whether or not it fits the criteria of white
I
supremacy.
see. Right.
And as far
And
as
then I'm assuming then they get back to find out who was responsible in some form.
well, actually, what they do is they'll investigate cases. This includes in cases of anti-Semitic incidents. They'll investigate as much as they can, but of course, always refer everything to local law enforcement. Obviously, here
Well, sure,
at
of
NYPD.
course, if they think there is some reason. Listen, before we run out of time, I just want to ask you about another thing you wrote about, totally different, maybe not, but and that is New York City parents rage over the resolution that wants to ban transgender athletes from girls' sports. This is a thorny question, and of course, here in New York City, it's not the only place this is taking place. Maybe just give us a review of what's out there and what people are saying and what the possibilities are.
Sure. So that is you're referring to Resolution 248, which
Okay.
actually came from the Community Education Council of District, I believe it was District 2 in Manhattan, one of the largest school districts, and they voted that council voted 8-4, I believe, or 8-3, to have a review done of the guidelines allowing transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports.
Hmm.
So yes, you're right. It's a very, very
And it's that's an interesting cultural thing that it came from Lower Manhattan, where you would think
yes,
there was maybe a little more acceptance. And I don't want to overly stereotype or judge, but knowing the politics and knowing people who live there,
right.
that vote in that way would be surprising, and it would not be surprising that you, a responsible reporter, would write an article saying, "Wait a minute, people are saying that's not so good."
Right, exactly. Well, you're not the only one to say that. There a lot of I believe it was Senator Hoylman Siegel who said he was
Mhm.
shocked too that
That came out that way. But it's an indication of what's out there, even, regardless of how this, ultimately, paves the way or what happens. Listen, Barbara Russo, AM New York reporter, thank you so much. We could talk about both of these issues for a very long time, but we're not gonna be able to do that. Real quick, you got something good coming up? What are you working on?
oh, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, okay. We'll have to check out AM New York and read everything that everybody writes and what Barbara writes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
amnetwork.com.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks, we'll take a short break. And as I said, a very interesting arts segment, unlike something we've ever done before. Don't go away.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
This year, BronxNet Community Television needs your support. For more than 30 years, we've been providing community programming shows, education courses, and access to our world-class television studios, a place where Bronx residents can call home. Community leaders and organizations can share their ideas, stories, and passions for what matters to us. We are still going strong, working hard each day, building new studios, creating new jobs, and expanding our digital inclusion opportunities so that your voices can still be heard. Every dollar counts. Donate to BronxNet and keep the momentum going and continue building a better Bronx with BronxNet.
"19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I'm thrilled because one of my friends is here. It is Laura Alvarez, who's a wonderful artist, a muralist. And so, Laura, it's so nice to see you and have you with us on the Bronx Buzz.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Before we even look at stuff and talk about, because there is a bit of a controversy over what happened to one of your murals. Are you busy? You working? Are you out there painting murals all the time? Some of the time? Well,
Yeah,
we can
I
see them
just
behind you, obviously.
those are paintings, but
I
yeah,
understand.
I just finished this week and I just finished a mural in Harlem with
Uh-huh.
an organization. They do a really nice job with high school students called Arte. And we just finished a mural on the Article 5 for the human rights. So it was
I
really nice.
You and I have done interviews before. We've been out there, so I look back. I think this was 2018, so we can count all those years between then and now. Anderson, we can put up the magic box. Let's look at these stairs that you did. Remember when you did this in
Yes.
High Bridge? Isn't that
Yes.
beautiful? We've got a couple of shots of it so you can see. And here's the next one is Laura doing her thing, doing the finishing touches there. And then the third was, I think these were the two artists or two young men that you had worked with, right?
Oh, yes.
Create that.
Yes.
What,
The middle one was the organizer from Wetco, and the other gentleman, another artist that he just joined in. He walked down
just
one day. He's like, "Can I join?" Like,
yes, absolutely.
please.
That's what it's all about. And when you see something like that, like I don't know if you've been down in that part of the Bronx recently, but it must give you such pride to know that you made that kind of a change, and it's a permanent change, and it's part of the neighborhood, and people get such joy from it, right? It must make you feel great.
Yes, it does. I live nearby though, and so I
Oh, you lived
see it
over there?
often.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what's interesting is and the mural really we're going to talk about is this gorgeous piece you did in Norwood,
Mhm.
and you will remember also. I don't know, it must have been maybe a year after that we met over there, and you toured us around this beautiful mural. So let's take a picture of or show pictures of what that mural. It's 207th Street in Bainbridge,
Mhm.
right near the hospital, Montefiore Medical Center, of course. Look how beautiful this is. Was this a difficult one to do, or much like many of those that you do?
No, they all have their difficulties and their challenges, but it's I love each one of them.
I'm sure.
This was, yeah, and this was very special because we did it with the community. They helped paint the wall and clean the whole area, so it was really nice.
Do you work from, like a sketch, a hard sketch, and this is exactly what you're gonna represent? Or do you kinda have an idea, and then as you start, you paint, and then you step back and you do a little more? Or does it change with each project?
It changes each project, but usually I have a clear idea of what I want to do. When I it's about murals, I usually work on digital, so I take a picture of the exact space that
Of
I'm
the
going to be
space.
working on the wall, and I draw on top of it in the iPad, and usually looks pretty close to
Oh, that's
what.
interesting. So of course, I'm thinking old fashioned that you sketch it out, but you can draw it on an iPad or picture it there. Do you find that they come out very, very much like what you originally saw in the iPad?
Most
Um,
of the times, yeah, they
Wow.
do. Like literally the mural I did this weekend, I put together the sketch and the picture, and I was like surprised how close
Wow.
it was.
All right. So for the next time that you're with us or somewhere out in the street, when we meet you, I want you to show me the iPad and we'll compare it to what's on the wall. That is fascinating to me. And in terms of the people that you bring around to do it, now you expressed what happened with Hybrid. Is it hard to work with people like if it was me and I have no talent, but I
No,
say, oh, I'd like to help. I'd like.
no,
No,
there's
you
a
work with
job
them.
for
A
everybody.
job for everybody. You let
Yes.
me be the guy holding the rag, I guess, or something like
Yeah,
that.
a mural is a big enterprise. So there's a lot of things that you can do, even if it's not with a brush. But I always encourage everybody to use one because it's not that difficult. But even if you don't want to, there's a lot of things you can do. There's brushes to clean, there's tape to put on or take
Wow.
off, or there's a
And in
lot.
in most cases, because, I suppose there are people hiring muralists, but in most cases, these are sponsored by organizations that wanna do something pretty or wanna do something, to take a wall and do something with it.
Mhm. Yeah, it depends. There are open calls, there are people that call you directly.
Huh.
Yeah, there's infinite ways of getting a mural.
One of the things we talk about the development of hip hop in the Bronx and the creation of all the different music that we've created. We also really were very big on graffiti art. I mean, I think of our friends at Tats Crew and others who were right at the forefront of turning graffiti into art. And so, in a way, what you do is beautiful graffiti. Oh, is that somebody talking to us? She can come and she can say hello if it helps. We like people.
Say
Oh, here we
hello.
go. Who is
Hi.
this?
It's my daughter.
And what's her name? What's her
Hi,
name?
Aitana.
Aitana, so nice to meet you. Anyway, we're talking with mommy, if you don't mind. Um, yep, that is her necklace.
Ahora, ¿vale?
All right.
Dame un segundito que acabe.
All right. This was the best moment of my day. I got to tell you that there's nothing I love more than that. Anyway, so in a way, it is a beautiful form of graffiti. But
Yes.
now we're going to show something which I saw in a News 12 piece, and it was
Mhm.
just so unfortunate. This is that beautiful mural that you saw in Norwood today. And so Anderson has a look at it. Somebody or people, who knows who they are, decided it was appropriate to graffiti this and cover it over with their own tags, so to speak, and so disappointing because you know what I thought about when I saw this, Laura? I said if they had come to you and said we want to paint on a wall, you'd have been the first one to help them find a wall
Yeah.
and do your thing and painting. But why people saw the pictures of it? Why destroy
Yeah.
something?
I don't know what they do it because I understand if you want to tag an empty wall, I understand, but a mural that is a pride for the community, it's kind of, you know.
Yeah. Is there any idea who might have done it? Was there a camera in the street? A lot of times
Oh,
they have the camera. That
that
street
that
doesn't.
happens over time. The first thing I saw, it was a little line on and then a bigger tag, and then a bigger tag, and then somebody tried to fix it painting
I-
white, and then somebody
yeah.
comes up.
I-
It just like it rolls over. It's like
How do you feel about it? Because I know that you understand the need to do that. Nobody would understand it better than you, but of course you do it within a proper structure. But how did it make you feel? Or just give me some. I mean, I suppose I could
yeah,
conjure up some thoughts on my own, but
it's
I'm
just
curious what you
it's
think.
just like very oh
Oh, come on. She's on TV.
it's
She's
just
doing great.
very because this was done by the community for the community, so it is kind of like
If she wants to sit on your lap, well, I have no problem with that. Or you think it'll be a bigger problem?
no.
Okay.
Ay, ay,
If
ay.
it'll make her happy, she could do that. Go ahead.
So it is like disappointing that you see like it's done with the community for the community. And Aitana,
Oh, come
cariño,
on.
ya está,
Shh, shh, shh.
ya está, cariño, ya está. And if it was an empty wall, I would understand that they go and tag it,
Right.
and I respect that, and I have a lot of friends that they do that, and it's fine. But it's a mural, and it's something that was done for a purpose, with a purpose,
Right.
and I
It's
don't know,
just
it's
disappointing.
disappointing.
Yeah,
But
because
I've been trying to raise funds to fix it. So
that's what my next question was going to be. What is next with it? Are you going to be able to do something with it?
yes, so I applied for a grant. I'm still waiting for the answer. I had a different talks with a lot of people. Aitana, mi vida,
Hmm.
por favor. Mama. She
That
can
is,
be
well,
your
she
mama.
loves Mama, and that's a good thing. We've
And
now properly represented that on television.
oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you want us to cut this segment short for you to, or is she
Sorry,
okay? No, that's
she's
okay.
tired.
So do you know when you might do it, or now you're just waiting for a grant, and then you would paint
Yes.
back over it? Is that what you're planning?
So
You
I
would just
am,
do it again?
yes, we're gonna paint it over. I am waiting for some funding. I'm going to start an IOB fundraiser. So because I haven't been able to get any officials to give out money or anything. So I'm gonna
So you have a fundraiser on your own. Do we want to tell people where it is?
yeah. So I'm gonna start raising funds. Ahorita.
Okay. So we're going to let you go. There's a
Okay.
GoFundMe. Send us the link
Yes,
for
I
all
will
that.
send you the link, and it will be out soon, so I can
Got
get
it.
the money. And in the spring, I'm planning on doing it.
Okay. Laura, thank you, and love to Aitana. Let's make her smile today.
Thank you.
And if she needs a nap, give her a nap and do whatever you got to do. Okay. Thank you so much, and we'll see you around town, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Folks, that will do it for the Bronx Buzz. I am thrilled that she's going to get a chance to redo it. Certainly, if oh, we still can hear her. If you can contribute or something, this really helps the Bronx and the community. And certainly, if you're actually watching, people who want to tag, reach out to somebody who's really going to help you, and you can do it and not get in the way, and people will celebrate what you do. That's really the most important thing. Anyway, that's all for the Bronx Buzz this evening. We thank our guests, and you know what we always say: if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, we will be back next week. Thanks for joining us.